Where was Chris when you need him? Hello, Gills fans, and welcome to the View from the Medway Fancast in partnership with the Gillingham Supporters Club. Yes, Gills fans, we've got him. Yes, the man who lives rent-free in fans of a certain age, Mr. Mark Halsey. The former professional referee whose career spans over a decade in the high competitive arena of the Premier League and a certain final in the 99-2000 season. Born on July 8th, 1961, in Welwyn Garden City, Hertfordshire, Mark made his mark in football, not just through his whistle, but with his resilience and determination. Starting his football career as a goalkeeper playing non-league football, Mark transitioned into officiating in 1989. He climbed the ranks to become the national list referee and was appointed to the Premier League select group in 2001. Mark's first Premier League match was a memorable encounter between Wimbledon and Coventry City in August 1991, and I'm sure he does remember that one fondly. He would go on to officiate numerous critical matches, including the FA Community Shield and the Football League Cup final. However, Mark's journey wasn't without its challenges, and in 2009, he faced a life-altering battle with cancer, undergoing treatment that would sideline him from refereeing. His comeback in 2010 was not only a testament to his resilience, but also a source of inspiration to many. Today, he is going to share his insights, not just from the pitch, but from a personal triumph. His discussions have often centered around integrity and ethics in sport. Also, after retiring in 2013, Mark has continued to be a significant voice in football, providing analysts for BT Sport and writing for CourtOffside.com. He has had an incredible life and a career. Please welcome Mr. Mark Halsey. Mark, welcome to the View from the Medway Fancast.
Good evening, Matt. I think I can hear all those boos all the way to Spain.
people are turning off as we speak. No, we don't want to hear from him. But to be honest, we do want to hear from you. And look, Mark, I'm going to dive straight in. I'm going to jump straight to my first question. It's a question that has, as I said, pretty much lived rent-free in Jill's minds for the last 26 years plus. So, 5 minutes?
Well, listen, I spoke to you're always in liaison with my fourth official, and we both agreed that it was 5 minutes. See, I was told that wasn't enough by my fourth official. I said, no, that's long enough. But even you said you watched the game back and you can see where the 5 minutes was.
No, I never. No, never said that in a million years.
Also, I think the Gills fans. What you got to remember as well is I refereed the semi-final at Priestfield with Gillingham and Preston, and you won 2-0 that night, and you all loved me that night. You know what I mean? All the fans were, singing my praises.
To be fair, look, I've got to admit, I was singing your praises in the first 1 minute because there was a blatant handball.
That's right. I was just to come on to that as well. If I give that penalty, which I should have done, looking back at it, I wasn't 100% sure. I wasn't 100% sure it was deliberate, and then I weren't sure if it was, is after about 1 or 2 minutes, and I'm thinking it's a massive decision to give that, as the game's just kicked off. But looking back at it, I should have given a penalty. So if I give that and they score that, so you can look to that. I know you look at the 5 minutes, but you look how the game's evolved over the years, and we're seeing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes. So and you got to you blame me, but you got to defend for the whole game, and that includes stoppage time.
You have, and look, I've got. From your perspective, I'm pretty right in saying that was your first game at Wembley. Was it officiating? Is that correct? Yeah. Obviously, such a big occasion. From your point of view, referee in the middle, 90th minute, Gillingham are 2-0 up. You've got to be thinking, I'm about to go and have a nice early bath now and enjoy the rest of my Saturday afternoon.
I've got to say, when the Gills went 2-0 up, I thought that's game over. And as far as I was concerned, it was, because you look at it and you think, well, listen, I knew there was another 5 minutes to go with stoppage time. I couldn't see Man City coming back and pegging getting the 2 goals back. It was an unbelievable day for me and my family. You know, obviously, like you said, my first game at Wembley after, I think it's 1996. I was appointed to the Football League, and then obviously 1999, I'm refereeing a playoff final at Wembley, which is everybody's dream. Players' dream to play at Wembley, and it's even. Same for a referee to referee a game at Wembley. I was fortunate to referee at the old Wembley and the new Wembley. So, listen, I always remember the day walking up that tunnel with hairs on the back of my neck. It was unbelievable. The atmosphere was fabulous. Walking up that slope onto the field, and I think it was raining as well, wasn't it? I think it was absolutely teeming down.
Yeah, it was a bit of rain in there. Yeah,
it was a bit of rain. So listen, I thought, The game. I thought the game was a fantastic advert for the league at the time. I thought it was a great game, and it's just one of those things, isn't it? You've got to play the 5-minute stoppage time, and Manchester City come back and get 2 goals in that time. You wouldn't have believed it, really, would you?
I mean, look, I said, full disclosure, before we jumped on, I did say, obviously I did look back and I've watched that game, and yes, I can understand where the 5 minutes came from. Obviously, our celebration for the second goal was, a good minute long plus, and there were all the subs, and so I do totally get it. But always you're going to have that little bit of something there because you were the man in the middle.
Of course you are. Of course you are. I understand. I'm a football fan myself, so you understand. I understand the frustrations. I understand the players' frustrations, the managers' frustrations when I refereed games. And I refereed games. I always gave players a chance because I understood their frustrations. I mean, I've had many a conversation with managers in my dressing room. We agreed to disagree, but what went on in my dressing room stayed in my dressing room.
Yeah, absolutely. I know.
And after that, I mean, me and Tony Pulis became good friends. We always got on well, had a drink together. We always reminiscent about that game when he was at Stoke City. I always remember coming back to Gillingham and refereeing Gillingham Stoke City in the FA Cup 3rd round. Do you remember that game?
Yes.
And I remember it because Tony deliberately walked onto the pitch and gave me a hug in front of all the Gills fans, and they went ballistic.
Everyone went ballistic.
And that wasn't my fault. So, but listen, that's football. There's worse things going on in the world than things like that. So.
I want to come back to you in a minute about the Wembley game, about a certain Gillingham player, but I do want to talking about stuff that wasn't your fault. A few days afterwards, there was a few photos that came out in the paper after that game of you being spotted or supposedly in the hotel. Obviously, it was a complete and utter mix-up. We know that now. But, I mean, did you feel any sort of real kind of hatred, sort of heat and hatred from Gillingham at that point? Because, obviously, it was a complete and utter mix-up by the FA and Man City.
Well, it's not. It wasn't the FA. It was the Football League. It was the Football League. It was the Football League that put us in that hotel. I mean, all the officials that weekend on the playoff finals were all in that hotel, and it just happened to be that I think quite a few of the Manchester City fans were in that hotel as well. I think the players were there as well after the game. I think although I didn't see, I heard that the Manchester City players were in there as well. So that wasn't our fault. And believe it or not, where the hotel was, we had to walk from our hotel with our kit bags to the dressing room.
Really?
From the hotel, yeah. So we had to walk all from the Hilton Hotel, Wembley Hilton, from there, and we had to walk back home again back home to the hotel afterwards. So it was very naive of the Football League putting all the officials in that hotel so close to the stadium.
So we can get a definitive right now, live and exclusive on the View from the Medway. You were not in there partying with them.
Listen. Obviously, after the game, obviously we're all in there, and all the officials from the next day were all having dinner together, and with our manager and our coach. So they're all in there. So when we finish having dinner, we come out of the dining room, and of course, there's loads of fans there. So there's not a lot you can do about that. Obviously, you engage with them, you talk to them, because I'm that sort of person. I wouldn't disengage with anybody. It just happens that when we walked out the restaurant, they were all there. So what can you do?
Just want to go back to the game. Obviously, you've managed. Sorry, you've refed obviously quite a few of our Jules games. As a certain player, I just want to know what it was like refereeing and trying to keep him on the pitch. He was part of that 99-2000 game. Andy Hessenthaler. He kind of that little trigger, that sort of little terrier in the middle of the park.
With Andy, I refereed Andy many times, and listen, it's like all players; they've got a lot to say for themselves, but you have to manage them. You have to always talk with them. You're always talking with them and chatting throughout the game. Listen, I can't say on here what sort of chatting was going on because it's shop floor language, and shop floor language goes on that workplace. The football pitch is the workplace. And I'm not going to make say, I didn't use shop floor language. I did. You had to, because that's how you got the respect out the players. But always had the respect of Andy. Vice versa, we got on well, we spoke well, and that's what you have to do to get players on side. They first of all you got to get the players to trust you, and you get that trust and respect through the accuracy of your decision making. And that's the way I because I was a player. I played the game. Don't mean always say that an ex-player will make a good referee, but I thought I was okay. I thought, I refereed some massive. Every game for me was massive, whether I refereed in the Premier League or refereed Championship, League One or League Two. I always treated every game the same.
Would you ever make a point? And I'm only asking this because I heard. I think it might have been. Gallagher mentioned that that he doesn't refer to players by their surname. He tries to learn their first name and actually speak to them on that kind of, would that be something you did quite a bit as well, and sort of try and learn first names? And
I always spoke to players with their first name, or I used their nickname. If I had a nickname, I'd use it. I'd use their nickname. Like when I'd referee, Paul Scholes, and he was like, you always had to keep your eye on him, or Roy. I used to call him Keno. I used to call Scholesy, and that's the way it is, because I was refereeing those teams, all the time, and you get to know the players, you get to know the backroom team, you get to know the kit man, and you build up relationships with them, and that's how it should be. It's one big football family, and that's how it should be. My nephew, he plays for. He was at Doncaster and he moved down he's at Cheltenham now. He scored on Saturday, my nephew, and he regularly occasionally we speak about referees and the standard, and so I'm not sure if you've played Cheltenham yet, have you?
No, not yet. I think we've got them this Friday.
Just look out for my big nephew up front, George Miller. He's a handful.
Right, okay. Any Gillingham players watching this? Attack George.
No, but I say, I always refereed my games. It's not, as I said, it doesn't always mean say an ex-player is going to be a good referee, but as a player, because I played quite a good standard. I always used to like my games to flow, and I took that into my refereeing, and always used to talk and talk to the players, because you've got to get the players on side, get them on side. And you've got the game in your pocket.
Well, that's almost perfect that we're moving on to this next bit, because I'm not here to bash referees. Like, I used to be a referee myself back in the day, and it was only ever kids football. I never got to any kind of high standard, but
that's harder than refereeing in the Premier League. That is.
Well, especially with some of the parents, and
yeah.
But one of the things that generally gets brought up, especially across League One, League Two, National League, is sometimes the standard of refereeing being so inconsistent across the board. Case in point, we have a tall forward, Ollie Hawkins, who week in, week out, whenever he's on the pitch, is quite literally getting his shirt torn off his back. It's visibly seen by the officials, and it's not being given. Did you think there is scope for, even because we have full-time referees in the Premier League, do you think there's potentially scope to start getting full-time referees across the entire football league?
Listen, even if you get full-time professional referees right across, the football league, and obviously it is in the Championship and the Premier League, it's the cost, it's the money, and I don't think the football league have got that in to allow that. But listen, I regularly speak with some officials now that are on the list, and I think the problem we've got some good officials out there, but also I think the standard has dropped considerably. And I don't necessarily blame the referees for that, because what's happening, it's about the leadership and direction. And I know they're getting mixed messages from certain people. So to be honest with you, they don't know whether they're coming or going. And that's why, I mean, if you look in the Premier League, because I'm watching the Premier League all the time, because obviously I have to comment on it. It's just so much inconsistency with decisions, the non-decisions, and VAR. You look at VAR. One week they get involved in something, then the following week they won't get involved in something, and it's just all over the place. And that comes with leadership and direction, and of the management, and decent, and having the right people beneath you in the dressing room. It's like I say, when a club changes their manager, they change the whole backroom team. And when we had Howard Webb come in, obviously he's in charge of all the PGMOL. He didn't change his backroom team, and for me, the backroom team he's got there are just not good enough to bring the good younger referees through, and that's the problem we've got. I mean, sometimes I watch my nephew, Cheltenham, when there's not, if it's an early game, and sometimes I just sit there and I watch the referee and I'm thinking, what are you being told? Why have you not seen that? Why are you not giving that? So I know how difficult it is, but as I say, it comes from the right leadership and direction from the powers within.
You did mention there earlier about obviously VAR as well, and look, VAR doesn't obviously come with its own controversies, etc. And look, last year there was some massive ones. This year it has got slightly better, but there's now talk about even introducing VAR into lower league football and having this kind of system where managers can appeal, and as long as there's a certain amount of cameras. Again, do you think, again, especially for lower leagues, that's going to be a hindrance, or and it's better just to get the football flowing once the decisions be made, move on?
I wouldn't say it's any better this year. It's just as inconsistent. But I mean, I love watching my team QPR in the Championship, because there's no VAR. It's great. If the referee makes a mistake, he makes a mistake. Okay, but at least you ain't got the game's not being held up for 2, 3, 4 minutes while they check an offside or they check a penalty. And sometimes they're being too forensic. And when you're too forensic, you are going to find whatever you want to find. Listen, I don't think it come down into Championship, League One, and League Two. It's just because of the cost of it. It's good to hear that the FA Cup this year, that VAR is not coming into the 5th round. So I think that's a little bit of movement, because I think it questions the integrity when you bring it into the 3rd round and you've got, say, Gillingham were playing at Crystal Palace, you would have VAR. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right, because if you were at Gillingham, there wouldn't be the VAR. So I think that's a good thing that it's not coming into the 5th round. But I'd like to see no VAR at all in the FA Cup, unless it's all Premier League teams playing in certain rounds. But when you've got a Football League side playing against a Premier League side, there shouldn't be any VAR.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What I've got to ask this, because this has been a big topic on our show every few weeks. With somebody sometimes brings it up. But what about FA Cup replays? Are you a bit annoyed that they've been scrapped?
Yeah, I do, because we've seen it already this season, haven't we? Where we've had the smaller teams going away to the so-called bigger clubs, and getting a draw on 90 minutes, and then going an extra time. And then some into penalties, and listen, it gives them, it loses the chance of them getting a big payday back at their ground, and that for me is what the FA Cup's all about. That's what the FA Cup is all about. Is the my brother's manager at Ware Football Club. They're in the Southern League, and they start playing in August. So you imagine teams at that level getting all the way through to the 1st round, 3rd round, and then they come up against a big side and they draw, and they've got to finish it on the day. Where's the magic of the FA Cup? It's gone. The magic's gone.
Especially if it was at their home ground and they had the chance of going to like White Hart Lane or whatever. I mean,
I remember a few years ago. I think it was non-league at the time, Exeter City. I think they were in the National League when they went to Old Trafford, got a 0-0 draw. Now that wouldn't happen anymore. Yeah. And it's not always about the big clubs. There's more to football than the Premier League, and the FA are listening to the Premier League. But what about all these teams in League One and League Two and the National League, and sometimes the league below that get that chance to have that big game? And we've not got to forget about the teams that are below the Premier League, because there's more football goes on below the Premier League what there is in the Premier League, and they're just as important as anybody else, as the fans are. The fans are just as important as anybody else in football.
Absolutely, I fully back you 100% there. Look, Mark, I would be amiss not to have you on to not talk about your Premier League career, and obviously you did manage as a referee, so some very big games. Whilst doing my research into you, my very thorough research that I like to do, I came across a stat, and I just wanted to go on record and put this out here so that any Gillingham fan can watch this to understand that you are definitely not a Man City fan at all, because
absolutely not.
You refereed Manchester City 25 times. Manchester City won 8 of them. They drew 3, but they lost 14. So there definitely is no favouritism there.
No, absolutely. My family are from Shepherd's Bush, East Acton. I'm a QPR fan. My uncle took me to Loftus Road at a very early age, and I'm still a massive QPR fan.
I mean, when I was going through this, I came across, you refereed, so this was the one that I thought if anyone was going to dig you out for being any kind of Manchester fan, it would have been Man United, because you refereed Manchester United 36 times and they won 26 times. 26 of those times. Yeah, 26.
26. I thought they never lost. I thought they never lost a game at Old Trafford when I refereed.
Oh, no, this might home and away. This is both.
Oh, right, home and away. Okay, yeah.
But they only, so if you supported any Manchester team, it would have been United. But I've got to say, you've obviously had the privilege of gracing the Premier League. There's going to be many players you would have come across that probably wound you up a little bit week in, week out. But is there any particular player that every time you came across that you were reffing that team that you thought, oh, not him?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Craig Bellamy was one of them.
You want a name and shame, or we can keep you from the wraps? Listen,
Craig Bellamy was an absolute pain in the backside. Every time he never stopped mouthing. Never stopped. But, I mean, listen, off the pitch, like all players, absolutely great, great company. I've worked with him out in Doha for BN Sport when I retired. And obviously he'd finished. We'd gone out there and done some work with Keys and Gray. Shared a few bottles of wine together in the hotel, but on the pitch, he was an absolute pain in the backside. But you had to give as good as you got from him. And we've had many rows on the field, but off the pitch, good as gold. But that's what it's all about. Players will try and get what they can out of the referee, and that's why we're there. To make sure we're fair, and referee it as you see it.
I've then got to ask you then the opposite to that question. Is there any player that whenever you saw that he was on the pitch, you just thought, I can't wait to see what he's going to do today?
Listen, there's loads of players. It'd be harsh for me to pick out any individual on the Premier League, because we were lucky. We were graced. I mean, I'm a football fan. I was graced with many players in the Premier League. But I'm going to go for one that I refereed on international level, and I had the privilege of refereeing France v Belgium, and I refereed Zinedine Zidane. Wow. Absolute. What a player! What a player! Listen, there's loads in the Premier League that I can mention, but I think that's unfair, because there's so many good players that are right up there that I've refereed. But international wise, Zinedine Zidane was most probably the best player.
Oh wow! Well, I need to then move on to the big shock that happened in your life in 2009 when you were diagnosed with cancer. Look, obviously, it's never happened to myself. I can't begin to imagine what that went through, what your mindset was. Obviously, you were in the height of your refereeing career at the time. Did you kind of think that was it almost for you, and you're never going to referee again?
Yeah, it is. Listen, it was difficult, very difficult, because my wife 8 months earlier had been diagnosed with leukemia. So not only she was going through battling leukemia, I was diagnosed as well. So there was both of us, and at the time we had a 3-year-old daughter, and it was difficult. It really was. I remember being diagnosed because I'd been struggling over the summer. When I was doing my pre-season training, I found it difficult to swallow and eat, and I still managed to do my fitness test. I don't know how, but I did. And then I was diagnosed the Thursday in Bolton, where I was living, at the Beaumont Hospital. And it was 2 days before I was refereeing. It was 2 days before the 2009-10 season. I was refereeing Everton v Arsenal on the Saturday, and obviously I spoke with the management, and they left it with me whether I refereed the game or not. And I was really ill. I didn't look good. I thought that'd be my last ever game, but I went and done it. I ran and refereed Everton Arsenal. I remember Arsenal winning 6. I think it was 6-1 they won. But
made it pretty easy for you then.
Yeah, I would. Luckily for me, because looking back on it, I should never refereed that game. I should never ever have refereed that game. And I remember there's 2 assistants coming off right close to me because I was close to collapsing. And then obviously in the dressing room after that game on the Saturday, on the Monday, I was in having the operation, having a tumour removed on the Monday. So listen, I didn't think I'd ever referee again, because having the tumour taken out, it then grew back within 5 days. And then I went to the Christie, fantastic hospital up in Manchester that sort of saved my life. And the Professor Tim Illidge, who was looking after me, said to me I would never ever referee. If I survived, I would never ever referee again. So, luckily for me, I got back and did for another 3 years.
Well, I was going to say you did. I mean, this is what I mentioned earlier.
Much to the annoyance of Gills fans, most probably.
No. Look, I mean, for myself, look, I do remember obviously when it came out about your cancer battle, and I was a bit, don't get me wrong, I was a bit shocked, and when you did make your return to the Premier League, literally, what was it? About 14 months later, 15 months later, I think, wasn't that?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. It was tough going, because obviously undergoing chemotherapy, then radiotherapy. It was. I see lots of people now, have been diagnosed with cancer, and a few friends of mine have been diagnosed, and you can help them, because I know exactly what they're going through. People can't comment on things unless you've had cancer and you've gone through the chemo, you've gone through the radio, because you know exactly what's going to happen to them. And I've got a good friend now that's got exactly the same as me, and I've taken him through each stage, and he's gone, you're absolutely spot on what's happening to me. So, at least I'm being able to help people. But it was a tough time. I never thought I'd get back. I never thought I'd get back into refereeing, because I found it really, really difficult to try and get my fitness back. I came back, and I think I had 3 fitness tests, which I failed, because obviously my body, my professor said, you're coming back too early, your body's not ready for that. All that poison that's gone into your body, you're just nowhere near ready to do any sort of undertake any fitness tests. But I just felt I had to get back and prove that I could come back, because there was a bit of pressure put on me from the powers to be.
There were a couple of questions, if you don't mind. Then I did want to ask. Obviously, when obviously you were diagnosed, I'm assuming obviously the FA and the referees committee would have come out and supported you. But did any clubs come out? Were there players that came out?
Yeah,
lots, as well, because obviously it's, as you said, lots the whole
of players.
Football community kind of helped.
It was a whole community. Lots of clubs, fans, and players supported me, sending me things. I always remember, because obviously I was training the Bolton Wanderers, because I lived in Bolton, and I remember them playing Bolton playing Arsenal, and I was down in the dressing room area, and players were coming up to me and shaking my hand, good to see you. And Arsene Wenger came into the tunnel area, and he come straight for me. He said, "I don't want to speak to you. I want to speak to your wife." And my wife Michelle was up in, because he asked me straight away, "How is my wife?" Because obviously she was battling leukemia. So I said, "Oh, she's upstairs in the players' lounge." So he said, "Can you take me?" I said, "Yeah, no problem." So I took him upstairs to the players' lounge, and Arsene walked in, and everybody just looked at him and just went, "What's he doing in here?" And he went straight to I took him straight to my wife, and he started talking to my wife. People were amazed. And so, people, they see the managers, but they're, obviously they're in their football environment, on the field of play, on the pitch. And as I said, the frustrations that go through and the emotions that go through them. But off the pitch, they're just like you and I, just human beings.
Absolutely, we are all human beings at the end of the day. So yeah, that game that you came back then, that obviously after the battle, that moment you stepped on the pitch, yeah, you just must have been so uplifting and
yeah,
sort of
it was. I mean, that was I think that was my first game back on the Premier League was Wigan Blackpool. But before that, the week before that, Everton had invited me to referee a pre-season friendly with because obviously that's where I finished. That's when I thought I'd finished, and then they played Everton Chile. So it was Everton Chile. So they'd come over because they're associated to each other, and they'd asked me if I would referee the game, and which I did. When I came out, I think there was 28,000 people there, and the ovation I got was just unbelievable. It was unbelievable, and then obviously they presented me with a glass presentation thing, plaque after the game, and the fans stayed, and again I got a fantastic ovation from Everton. I've got a bit of an affinity with Everton because I've been going there. My first ever game there was against Chelsea, and I sent off Frank Leboeuf, and they loved me for it. So it was 2 yellow cards, deservedly so. And as I said, I mean, Everton was one of my favourite grounds to referee at.
Well, do you know what I was going to say? I've got the screenshot here. I don't know if you knew this. You've refereed Everton 43 times.
43 times.
Over the space of your career. They've won 16, drawn 11, lost 16. So you've given 1 red card to them as well. It doesn't say who.
That'd be up at Newcastle when Newcastle played Everton, and I sent off. Was it Joseph Yobo for a denial? I think it was.
Let's see if it will load up. Hold on. No, it's not going to open up. But yeah, I mean,
and after that game, me and David Moyes at that time with Keith Hackett as our manager, you were allowed to talk to managers. But when Mike Riley took over, that all changed. And we had a good conversation about that sending off, and in the end, David agreed that it was a send off. But yeah, listen, I had a great affinity with Everton fans because they know their football, they know their referees, and if you're not on your game up at Goodison, and it's a shame they're leaving Goodison because it's a great ground. I used to love walking out to Z Cars. Because I used to watch it as a kid, and I used to love walking out to that theme. But yeah, listen, Everton fans, it's the people's club. They know their football, they know their players, and they also know their referees. Because, as I said, if you're not on your game, they will let you know. Just like just like Gilles fans have all those years.
Absolutely. And the thing is, even for another 25 years, you're still going to live rent free up here.
I know. I even got abuse off all your fans when I went to when I took my daughter and her boyfriend up to Madrid to watch Madrid and Manchester City.
I'll bet you.
I put a picture on at Alicante train station just on the way up to Madrid to watch Madrid Manchester City. Oh dear, the stick I've got for that. And I'm a Madrid fan. My daughter's a Madrid fan. We're going there in January again to watch a Champions League game. So.
All it is to say, as soon as you'll see Mark Halsey and Man City, just red,
I know.
But that is
sorry, guys. I apologise for 1999. I'm sorry.
There we go. Oh, we've got it right. Somebody grab that, post that on Twitter because that is what everyone needs to hear. Mark, look, as a referee aficionado here, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the future of refereeing going forward. There's been a lot of obviously debate. There is the talk about having VAR come into lower league football and stuff like that. There's talk about having automated referees, auto bots, whatever you want, referee bots.
Yeah, automated offsides in VAR. Yeah, automated.
Yeah. But one of the best things I've actually heard in terms of what could potentially be going forward for the future of referees is at the end of a game, managers, players, they always get interviewed, but referees never get asked why they've given certain decisions. could that potentially be something that could?
Well,
I mean, if a referee was to come out and said, "Look, at the time, this is how I've seen it because of the position I was in on the pitch," could that potentially help refereeing evolve across the Football League?
Well, yeah. Listen, look. What you got to remember is referees are not media trained, so they come out and say something, and they just take that soundbite and put it as though they've said something they haven't. So you know what it's like in the media. Listen, I think every Premier League game there's a match delegate. So I think that obviously that match delegate is an ex-player or an ex-manager that goes into the dressing room on behalf of the Premier League and marks the referee for the Premier League. So I think once that delegate has spoken to the referee and said, well, how did you see this sending off? How did you see this penalty? And once they discuss it, whether they agree to disagree, then that delegate can then go and face the media and tell him, listen, this is what the referee gave it. This is the situation. This, that, or whatever he says, he can present that to the media. I don't think it's right that the referee goes out, because what will happen is they will talk about that incident, and then they'll talk about an incident in a game 3 or 4 weeks ago. Well, this similar incident. Well, this referee gave this. It's not about that what happened 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's about what happened in this game. And as long as the referee is consistent over the 90 minutes, whether you think he's been good, bad, or indifferent, as long as that referee is consistent over that 90 minutes in that game, not what happened 2 weeks ago, or Gillingham playing Salford last week, what happened in that game, and they're playing Cheltenham this week. You're going to get two totally different referees with two most probably different interpretations of different incidents. So long as he's consistent within that 90 minutes, then that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, I mean, forgive me, I forget the ref's name. There's a ref we had a few weeks back who, look, there was some heavy challenges that, in the sort of late 1990s, early 2000s wouldn't go unpunished, but nowadays would. But he was letting them go, and he was letting play flow, and he wasn't whipping out his card for every challenge. He was giving players fair warning, and he was probably one of the best referees I've seen at this level. And that's what kind of what you want across the board. And then
but
the
problem you got is, okay, that's my kind of referee. Long as players understand and they listen, they respect you. And I used to, when challenge years ago, I used to run past. I can't say. I mean, it was shop for all language, but don't do that again. Otherwise, you'll be, I'll be doing this, I'll be doing that. I'll sort you out. And I think long as referees are like that for the 90 minutes. But the problem they have is when if they've got an assessor in the stand that's an absolute pain in the arse who's constantly just marking referees down. That's the problem they've got. See, without those good assessment marks, they don't move up. So sometimes they're refereeing for that man in the stand, which is totally wrong. I never refereed for that man in the stand. I just went out and refereed my way, and it worked for me. But at this moment in time, we've got people assessing referees that's what I said before. They just shouldn't be there. They're not. They shouldn't be there. They've never been referees. They've never been coaches. They've not coached at the highest level. And I feel sorry sometimes for the referees, because they're getting mixed messages on what to do and interpretations. And I know that because they're telling me, the guys that are currently on the list, they're telling me they're getting mixed messages. So they don't know whether they're coming or going.
Mark, I've got to ask then about your future. Obviously, we know, well, for those of Gills fans that don't know, Mark has fled the country. He's getting away from us. Yeah, he lives over in Spain now. But I mean, in terms of your future, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, you do a lot of writing now, and you do a bit of punditry and stuff like that. Did you see yourself still in sort of the next 5-10 years, still sort of sticking around the refereeing?
But yeah, listen, I'd like to have been involved with professional football, with referees, whether it be National League or younger referees coming through, or Football League and Premier League. When Howard Webb first took over, he contacted me and said, "I want you involved. I want you on my team as a coach." But I'm still waiting for that phone call. But I say it as it is. That's the problem. I say it as it is, and sometimes people don't like that. You can't sit on the fence. You've got to be honest. You've got to, if someone makes a mistake, a referee makes a mistake, or he's got add an indifferent performance, you've got to say that. You've got to say that. And unfortunately, we're seeing now that even in the punditry on shows on TV that they're not been they put out a message at the start, don't criticise the referee, and we see things on TV. I'm watching, sometimes I'm sitting there watching, I think, how can you say that? That's a clear error. That should be a penalty. So I think that's the reason why I've not been involved, because if you don't say it as it is and say it in a constructive way, you're never going to improve. You're never going to improve your performance. It's like a player, isn't it? You're never going to improve if you can't take that criticism, like constructive criticism. And I always took constructive criticism from my assessor when, sometimes I didn't agree with them. I used to tell them, get lost, I don't agree with you. But that's how I was. But you're never going to improve if you're not going to take that constructive criticism, are you? In any walk of life.
Yeah, not just refereeing. That's a great thing for any Gills fan watching. You said you're never going to improve if you can't take that. Mark, look, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on. Before we go, each guest we have on, we always do our little 3, 2, 1. So we're going to ask
I can't believe you're not taking any questions from your fans to you and ask me. Obviously, they've not put none in, have they? Or is it all about the 5 minutes?
Do you know what? There's not been many that have come through yet, but the ones that have come through, maybe it's not worth posting at the moment. But no, Mark.
I'll give him one of those, shall I? Hey.
Hang on. Can you just do me, just fulfill my fantasy? Please ask me what my name is.
Well, okay. What's your name? Number.
Sorry, sir. Matt Olsen, number 9.
Right, here we go. Get off.
There you go. Hey, I've been sent off by a Premier League referee. So yeah, Mark, we're going to finish off with my 3, 2, 1. So these are 3 quick sort of fire questions that I'd like you to try and have a hard think about. What I'm going to ask you. So your 3 favourite grounds you've ever reffed at. 2 of the best/worst players you've ever reffed. And 1 of the best refs in the world right now, or even in the Premier League, who you think up and coming. So let's start with your 3 favourite grounds you've refed.
3 favourite grounds. Obviously, number 1 was Goodison Park. Used to love refereeing at Goodison Park. Fantastic ground, fantastic atmosphere. St James's Park at Newcastle, obviously. And I used to love walking out. And listen, I loved whatever ground I went to. But I used to love walking out to at Bramwell Lane, the John Denver tune, fantastic Bramwell Lane. Used to love walking out there. When I refereed the derbies, the Sheffield Shield derbies, fantastic atmosphere. But there's many grounds, Anfield that you never walk alone. Top, fantastic. So
but you're never going to beat the last waltz from the Rainham end.
Yeah, listen, I went to Gillingham many times as an assistant referee and as a referee. I refereed there, many times. So
the one thing that obviously Gills fans are known at, we're known as the home of the shouting men because we just sing and shout, and it's great passion from those guys in the Rainham end. But yeah, I'll be honest, I can imagine walking out somewhere like Bramwell Lane, the goosebumps and coming up on your arm, walking out, and you're leading out those players who are about to go to battle. What an atmosphere that must have been.
Yeah, there was many clubs as well. Yeah, I remember coming when I came back. I came back too early. I think it was the old Rotherham ground. Was it where they used to play? It was the New York. What was it called? The New York thing or New York Stadium? Yeah, I mean, great reception there. I remember, when I first come back. Ronnie Moore left a message in my dressing room, which was fantastic. You never forget things like that. So, and I used to love refereeing down at the Gills as well when I was in the football league. I always got lost coming from Welling Gardens, going down to Gillingham. Never went in the same way. But I used to get on with have a cup of tea with Paul Scully and Tony. So it was just unfortunate that what happened on that day in the 5 minutes, wasn't it? But going back to the football grounds and the players have already said Zinedine Zidane was obviously, I think it was unfair. I always remember refereeing Newcastle Everton, that won the goal by Alan Shearer. I was right behind that. When he the 2-1, I was right behind it. And as soon as I saw it, I went, "That's in!" I shouted, I went, "That's a goal!" No, and it just sailed straight into the goal. But there was many great players that I got on well with at the Premier League and Football League as well. So, as I say, I think it's a bit unfair for me to pick out any single player because I've got.
Well, to be fair, you said Zinedine Zidane and then Craig Bellamy earlier, so we'll take that as the two. Let's go on to the last one. Now, this is a tough one because we're sort of talking, best ref in the world / Premier League. You can decide which one you want to go with at the moment.
Listen, I think best referee in Europe. Obviously, we don't see the world because we don't see the games from the other side of the world. Obviously, with the Champions League, I think the best referee in Europe is Szymon Marcinek from Poland.
So he did the France Argentina World Cup. All that. I mean, absolutely brilliant.
And why I pick him out, as I said before, he's an ex-player. I don't mean to say ex-player is going to make good referees, but I think he is an excellent referee. And I'm not too far behind him. A lot of people disagree with me, but our very own Michael Oliver. There's only a couple of referees in the Premier League at the moment that are good. I mean, Anthony Taylor looks like he's come back into form, but there's a lot of younger referees below that. But for me, it's the way they're managed and coached. That's what bring referees forward. It's the way you treat them, the way you talk to them, the way you manage them, and the direction you steer them in. So. And listen, I see a lot of Football League referees, and that applies to them guys as well.
Mark, look, we've come pretty much to the end of the show. I will say, for me, greatest referee of all time. There's two that sit up there.
Not me.
That is Norwegian Cleaner, and of course Howard Webb. Right,
I think that's where I say goodbye.
Mark, thank you so much for coming on. I hope I haven't made you too more hatred of Gills fans.
Not at all. Listen, it's football, and we all move on, don't we? I came back after that a couple of times and to the Gills. I was dreading it. I remember the first time I came back. Do you remember the first time I came back to Priestfield? After that playoff final.
Yeah, was that the 2001 season? Or no, hang on. I can't remember the game.
I do. I remember the game. I'll never forget it. Because I'm sure the ground was full at 2:00 waiting for me to come out and do my warm-up. It was against Burnley. Gillingham, Burnley. That was the next time I came back to Priestfield, and I was getting dogs abuse because the car park's right at the other end, and you have to walk all the way up. Yeah, all the way up. And after the club didn't even let you walk through the stadium. And they lined the streets. I was rorty, but giving me dogs abuse. But listen, but I remember that because I remember coming out for warm up against the Burnley game, and all that. As soon as I came out and started doing some exercises, all the fans came down. They were all giving me loads of jips. I thought, you know what? Come on, lads, we'll come round. We'll go in front of the Burnley fans, and they saw me getting all this abuse. And then as I ran round past the Burnley fans, they're all going, Mark Halsey, Lancashire, Mark Halsey, Lancashire, because I was living in Bolton at the time. So I went, hey, well done, lads. And then Burnley won that game 3-0, I remember rightly.
Yeah, so I remember when you came back, we lost, and again that made you even more hatred towards Chilwell.
I got blamed for that, for starting the game.
Mark, thank you so much for coming on the View from the Medways. You've been absolutely amazing. I'm hoping some Gills fans of a certain vintage are going to be watching this, and you might now jump out of their head and stop living rent-free up there. Although I'm pretty sure
there'll be some.
At least another 50 years till you got. Although maybe we should get a statue just of you put outside the club, just But thank you so much once again. You've been wonderful. Guys, you have been watching A View from the Medway's View with. I've been Matt. He's been Mark Halsey. Thank you for watching. And as always, up the Gills.